Shabbat Shalom to everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with our service. I see by the clock on the wall it's time. I want to thank Cindy on keyboard for beautiful music. I'm sure we'll enjoy that tonight. And our videographer, Xander, is here. So she'll be handling all of those duties. When I was preparing tonight's service, I was kind of reviewing some of the booklets that we used for our Musar training with Rabbi Janice. And as I was looking at the book, which is about gratitude, I came across this poem from our Musar training, and I thought I would start our service tonight with that. It's a poem of thanks because we are grateful for everything that we have. So this is how it goes. Thanks for all you made. Thanks for all you gave me. Insight and understanding, a friend or two. For all that I have in the world, a flowing song and a forgiving heart. And because of all of this, I go on. Thanks for all you made. Thanks for all you gave me. A child's laughter, blue skies, a piece of land and a warm home, a place to sit, loving friends. Because of all this, I go on. Thanks for all you made. Thanks for all you gave me. A day of happiness, honesty and integrity. A sad day that is gone. The victory of 2,000 years and the white wings of peace. And because of all of this, I go on. We'll start with our candle blessing. Leslie, would you like to light the candles tonight? And a few words while Leslie's coming up here. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our day, be among those who kindle light. Thank you. And we'll move right into the Coddish, and you'll find that on page 5 in your Siddur. Please rise, I'm sorry. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, B'ahava uvratzon hin hilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra hakodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu vecha uta ve'otanu ki mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha bi'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. We'll continue on page 6 with the reading. We enter this synagogue, and you may be seated. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured. A beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. And continuing on page 8, I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And on page 10, we'll start with Hine Ma Tov and then go right into Ma Yafeh. Hine Ma Tovu Ma Nayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tovu Ma Nayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov, Hine Ma Tov. Dan dai ya dai 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 dai. Ma Tov hu. Dai dai ya dai 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 dai. Hine Ma Tovu Ma Nayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tovu Ma Nayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together. And right below it you'll find Ma Yafeh. Ma Yafeh Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. How lovely today is. Shabbat Shalom. At the bottom of the page, The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace. And moving forward in the Siddur to page 13, you'll find Shiru Ladonai. And on page 16, there's a reading. Sing praise to Adonai with a lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before Adonai, the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people with equity. And on page 20, you'll find Lecha Dodi. And on Lecha Dodi, of course, we'll start with the chorus, and then we'll move to verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, and then we'll jump to verse 9, and when we get to verse 9, we'll all rise and face the door, the place where the bride, the Shabbat bride, would enter our sanctuary. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'debor echad, Hishmi'anu el ham yuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem elf tiret v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehuven elcha, Ki hi mikor habracha, Meirosh mekedem nefsucha, Sof ma'asa b'mashvachatila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabala, Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam simcha u'tzochola, Tochei munei am sgula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabala. You can be seated, and on page 22 at the bottom, that reading, there's two paragraphs. I'll read the first one, and if the rest of you would read the second part of it. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know. A fool cannot understand this. Thank you. And on page 24, Shalom Alechem. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Boechem l'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Zetchem l'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. On page 26, you'll find the Coddish. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Amen. Be'alma divra kirtei v'yamlik malchutei, B'hayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedei kol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Ba'agala, uv'izman kariv, v'yimaru, Amen. Yeheshmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam ol me'olmaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalol, shemei dekudasha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nei hemata damiran bi'alma, Vimaru. Amen. And that takes us to our call to worship, the Baruch Hu. If you'll please rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. You may be seated. What does it mean to be called to worship? All serious activity requires preparation. The prayers and blessings that precede the Baruch Hu, they're warm-ups. They're warm-ups for the individual. And now communal prayer begins. And the leader asks, "Are you ready to pray?" And we respond, "Yes, let us pray." There are two readings on page 29. Leslie, would you like to read "There is One" on page 29? O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthestmost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. And on page 31, this is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'aravim aravim. And we'll continue on the following page, on page 32, with the reading of Everlasting Love. And Larry, would you like to read Everlasting Love?
Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our light, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. And page 33 brings us to a Wisdom and Wonder, which is a responsive reading. I'll begin. Wisdom and Wonder, Passion and Instruction, Story and Symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
Than this holiness of your works and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And on the following page, we'll find the Shema, and the page after that is the V'ahavta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. V'ahavta, excuse me, V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha uv'chol nafshacha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'elech asher anochi mitzvacha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'vetecha uvlechtecha v'derech ukshartam uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. And continuing on page 39, that's also a responsive reading. So I'll begin, and where there's that little indentation is where you'll pick up. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
And on the following page, page 40, you'll find Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha, Belim Adonai, Micha Mocha, Nehedar Bakodesh, No Ratahilel, Osefele, No Ratahilot, Osefele. And right beneath it, there is another responsive reading. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your turn. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. And on page 44, Vishamru. Please rise. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam baridolam. Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam baridolam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, Odhi leolam, Odhi leolam, Odhi leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Sod et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam baridolam. Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam baridolam. Uvayom hashivi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam baridolam. We are a people in whom the past, you may be seated. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. And if you'll please turn to page 47. Pray as if everything depended on God and act as if everything depended on you. And that brings us to the Amidah, our standing prayer. The Amidah, of course, is really the core of every Jewish worship service. It's oftentimes referred to as Ha-Tefillah, or the prayer. Amidah, which literally means standing, refers to a series of blessings recited while standing. So this is your chance to rise and to speak to God, say the words that are in your heart, or the readings in our Siddur are between the pages of 46 and 61. So if now you'll please rise. And when you're finished with your time of meditation, you may be seated. Sefati tetach ufiyagi tahilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Let's continue on page 62 with a spirited rendition of Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, vimru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael. So this Shabbat, we read the Parsha Akev, which comes from the book of Deuteronomy, and we're getting towards the end of the Torah, Deuteronomy being the final book in the scroll, and we're preparing for the high holidays, which are less than 5 weeks away. And as our story comes to an end and we are about to cross the Jordan River and enter the Promised Land, Moses takes a final run at the Israelites and gives them both instructions and warnings as to how they should conduct themselves for the years to come. As it turns out, these words have pretty much held up over the last 3,000 years. So here's a summary of this Parsha. Firstly, Moses tells the Israelites that if they follow God's laws, the nation who now dwell across the Jordan River will not harm them. Moses reminds the people of the virtues of keeping God's commandments, and it's here in the Torah where the 10 Commandments are revealed to them and to us. He also tells them that they will dispossess those who now live in the land only because they are idolatrous, not because the Israelites are uncommonly virtuous. Thereupon, Moses reviews all of the trespasses of the Israelites against God. Moses reminds the Hebrews that as they wandered in the desert, God gave them manna when they were hungry and water when they were thirsty. And he reminds them that when he descended from Mount Sinai, they welcomed him with a golden calf idol. And in his anger, he smashed the original tablets, and he had to go back up on Sinai and get a new set of tablets. Moses says that the land of Israel will overflow with milk and honey if the people obey God's commandments and teach them to their children. And it's here in this Parsha when we hear the words that pretty much make up the V'ahavta. In reading this part of our story in Parsha Akev, it said to me that Moses was creating a template for how to live a life in which a person can find success. And he kept his message pretty simple. If you follow God's commandments, if you be virtuous, if you do good, then you'll be satisfied. So, success. Success, now that's a tricky word, because one person's definition of success might be different than another person's definition of success. How do we measure success? Is it through acquisition? If you have a 5,000 square foot home with a Mercedes and a Lexus in the driveway, is that a sign of success? Or is it a crowded table at Passover that's filled with friends and family and love? The fruits of our labor, the remuneration that we receive for the work that we do, really has two components. There's monetary remuneration, what we get paid, and there's psychic remuneration, how we feel about what we do. And in this Parsha, Moses warns the Israelites that if they become too stiff-necked which means stubborn, haughty, arrogant, uncompromising, God will turn away from them. In the 21st century, North American Jews enjoy a level of prosperity and freedom that's really unprecedented in the history of the Jewish people. Now, it's not without a few bumps in the road. Many of us have felt the stings of anti-Semitism, but there have been few times in the world's history where Jews can practice their religion in such an open environment. Are we taking all of this for granted? Is it the American dream? What is the American dream? Well, the American dream teaches us that if we work hard and we live a thoughtful and considerate life, we can find success. But when we find success, who deserves the credit? Is it just through our own hard work that we succeed? We're not truly being honest if we don't admit that there are other contributing factors. The family into which we were born, the education we received, the help of the communities we belong to, all play a major role in how we succeed, in why we succeed. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the expression, it takes a village. And then there's God. Does God play a role? For what should we be grateful to God? The answer to this question depends, on some degree, to one's personal theology. Do you believe that in some way God intervenes in your life? Does your relationship with your religion affect your outward behavior? In Genesis, it says that God created man, and I'll add woman, in his own image. But I don't think it's in like a representational likeness, but it's more of a spiritual kinship. Moses' message to the Israelites in Parsha Akev was simple. If you follow the commandments, and the commandments basically say, be honest with yourself and others, treat others like you would like to be treated, and if you feel good about the person in the mirror that you see every morning, then you've probably achieved success. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, coming down to the final stretch here, we'll go to the Mishaberach. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these members of our community. Robin Cohen, Diana Heller, Barbara and Chip Kurtzman, Dave Podolsky, Cheryl Shellub, John Sitters, Ellen and Michael Weingarten, Sam McElraw, who's the great-nephew of cricket handler, Toby Shearer, the mother of Don Daner, Peter and Hillary Steiniger, Jana, Martin, and Quinn Balham. And for those of you here, anyone you'd like to keep in your prayers for this Mishaberach? Larry, do you have anyone? All right, Scarlett Courier. Send them all comfort and relief speedily in our days, and grant them a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit. Blessed are you, source of life, who helps to bring light where there is darkness and healing where there is brokenness. So Cindy and I talked a little bit about the version of the Mishaberach we're going to do. It's on page 253 in the Siddur. All right. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor Habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage. May Make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha berach imotenu, mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. On page 258, you will find blessings for our country, and on the facing page, the blessings you'll find for the state of Israel. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. And we say, Amen. And for Israel, O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And we say, Amen. And on page 282 is the Elenu, and it's in this Siddur, the Elenu is a little tricky. So it starts on page 289, the bottom paragraph, and then it skips to the next page, 284, at the very top. We do that paragraph, and then we skip all the way to 287 for the conclusion of it. Elenu lishaberek ladon hakol latet gedula l'retzer bereshit shelo asanu kugeye horatzon velo hosamanu kamishpachot hadoma shelo samhel kenu kahem vegohoralenu kechol hamonam Vanachnu korim umishchachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Top of the next page. Shehu note shemayim veyosed aretz umashav yikaro bashamayim mima'al Ushchinatu so, begov hey merod, hu Eloheinu ein hod, emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv betorato, veyadahayom vahashevota, elevavecha. Ki Adonai hu Elohim al haaretz mita'enod. And on the Emar v'haya Adonai lamelech kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai Ushemo echad. You can be seated. Thank you for taking the initiative to stand on your own, since I forgot to say it. So just a very few announcements. We do have some birthdays. We have the birthday of Cheryl Shelleb this Monday, and Tuesday, Colleen Margalit is celebrating a birthday, and Ken Siegel on Thursday. For anniversaries, we have Samantha and Mike Mogul are celebrating an anniversary tomorrow on the 31st. Michelle and David Robles on Monday, the 2nd of August, and Melissa and Doug Trinidad on the 5th of August, which is Thursday. If you looked at your bulletin, you'll see that there's a book discussion on August 3rd at 7 o'clock on Zoom. It's I didn't write down the title of the book, but it's the one that Teresa is leading. The dates and times for the high holidays have been published in this past week's bulletin. And you'll also see in the bulletin that there is a form for the Yisker Memorial Book. So if you'd like to have the names of family and friends entered into the memorial book, the Yisker Memorial Book, you can use the form that you'll find in the bulletin. And you know, the Jewish Film Festival is January of 2022, and JCC is desperately looking for volunteers to help them with the film festival. So if that's your thing, get in touch with the JCC. They'd love to hear from you. That brings us to the Mourner's Coddish, and it's on page 295. Actually, the Coddish itself is on 294, and if you'll please rise. This Shabbat, we remember Richard Gresham, the father of Gail Gresham, Annetta Becker, the mother of Jerome Becker, David Solish, uncle of Al Solish, Samuel Coleman, father of Francis Mayer, Norman Solish, uncle of Al Solish, Margaret Pasternak, friend of Linda Pryor. And we remember Sheila Katz, aunt of Jerome Becker, who passed away last week. And we take into our hearts all those who have no one to say Coddish for them. I know no one here, well, is anybody here observing a Yortzeit? Just as a matter of course, Larry, would you like to come up and light the Yortzeit candle? Thank you, sir. And the Coddish Yatom is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra kirte v'yamlich malchute, b'hayehon uvyomechon uvhaye de kol bet Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imaru amen. Yehe shemei rabbah mevorach, leolam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei de kudashah berichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nehemata, damiran bi'alma v'imaru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imaru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, alenu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imaru, amen. And I want to, you may be seated, and I'd just like to leave you with a little story that I came across. I used to use this book, Wise Words, a lot when I was preparing services. I kind of got away from it, so I got it out, and I remember this story. I have it highlighted. So this was written by Rabbi Harold Kushner, the famous Harold Kushner, who's written many books on Judaism, and this is a little story that he likes to tell. I was sitting on the beach one summer day watching two children, a boy and a girl, playing in the sand. They were hard at work building an elaborate sandcastle by the water's edge. The sandcastle had gates and towers and moats and internal passages, and just when they had nearly finished their project, a big wave came along and knocked it down, reducing it to a heap of wet sand. And I expected the children to burst into tears, devastated by what had happened to all their hard work. But they surprised me. Instead, they ran up the shore, away from the water. They were laughing. They were holding hands. And they sat down to build another castle. And I realized that they had taught me an important lesson. All the things in our lives, all the complicated structures we spend so much time and energy creating are really built on sand. Only our relationships to other people endure. Sooner or later, the wave will come along and knock down what we have worked so hard to build up. When that happens, only the person who has somebody's hand to hold will be able to laugh. And with that, Shabbat Shalom.